They say that death is hardest on the living, for those left behind are often forced to confront a myriad of regrets, from too little time spent with their loved one to angry words left unresolved. And so, when a sign from above eases our pain and our conscience, it can only be viewed as a miracle. Carol McAdams grew up in the hills of Appalachia, surrounded by a large and loving family headed by her father, a country preacher named Roy McCoy.
I was the youngest of the 9 children in my family. I have 7 brothers and a sister who are older than me. Being the baby of the family had some advantages, but being the baby girl after 7 boys, my dad really invested a lot of time in me.
Her brother, Elmer McCoy, remembers.
Carol and Dad were very close. They were very close. It was more than just a biological relationship of father and daughter. There was a spiritual relationship.
My dad was an evangelist. And the earliest memories that I have are of my dad singing little songs with me and to me. There was always a spirit of music around our house. If we weren't making it ourselves, we were listening to records or the radio or something. There was always music.
Not only could Roy play a variety of musical instruments, he could make them as well. And little Carol liked nothing more than watching him at his craft.
He was very clever in shaping and forming things.
Come in, young lady.
And he would sit there and craft some of the most beautiful pieces you've ever seen in your life. Dad making things out of wood was as natural as Dad breathing and getting up every morning.
As Carol grew, so did her love for music, but her relationship with her father became strained.
When I hit puberty, my dad went what I call squirrely.
God. I hope he asked me, but I don't know if he's going to or not.
Carol, this is dinner time. Come take your seat.
As my body began to develop and I was growing into my teens,
Yeah, I gotta go. Okay, bye.
Dad had this hawk eye out for any man or boy that happened to look my way. He always told me, Carol, you have the chance to go to college. You have a chance to make something of your life. You're not going to just get out here and throw it away and get married. You'll end up with a house full of kids and some man abusing you, and you won't be able to take care of yourself.
In reaction to his strict control, Carol began criticizing everything her father said and did, including the first dulcimer he attempted to make. Roy had added his own loving touches to the handmade instrument, even using the shape of a cross for the single sound hole.
I have a little surprise for you.
And he offered it to me, and I told him I just didn't want it, and he asked me why.
It doesn't look right. I mean, aren't there supposed to be 2 holes here for the sound?
But it has a good tone.
It's not right. I mean, look here, the neck's all wrong. It's supposed to be, I don't know, more rounded, like a scroll, not flat.
I could really tell that it hurt his feelings, but he says, well, if you could draw a pattern for me, you know, I think I could probably get it right. I went to the school library and I saw a picture, and I drew up a little sketch for him of what the neck looked like and cut it out of construction paper. After that, he offered to make me one, and I told him I really wasn't interested.
Shortly after Carol started college, she was swept off her feet by a man 13 years older and defied her father by marrying him.
That truly, truly broke my father's heart and put a wedge between us that was never removed. It lasted my dad's entire life.
After years of silence, Carol received a call informing her that her father had been hospitalized with advanced Alzheimer's disease.
I drove to Goldsboro believing that my dad was going to know me, and not at all prepared for the heartbreak that I would feel if he didn't.
Daddy, you know who this is?
That's my baby.
I have missed you so much, Daddy.
And he put his arms around me and he cried and he held me. And then we sat and we talked for over an hour.
It's okay, you can rest.
But one visit was not enough to mend their broken relationship, and a short while later, Roy McCoy passed away. The death of her father left a tremendous hole in Carol's life, and she became determined to find a way to reconnect with him.
Some years after Dad died, Carol came to visit me, and she asked about the scrapbook, and I said, well, I have that. And she said, well, can I have it? And I said, of course.
The scrapbook is really very, very old. And as I flipped on through the pages, I found that piece of a pattern of the dulcimer neck that I had sketched out for my dad all those years ago. And just touching it brought back a flood of memories. And I wondered, Daddy, why in the world would you keep such a thing? Why would you put such a thing in a scrapbook? But it made me realize how very precious those memories were to my father, that he would have kept that all those years and that it was still there.
The discovery of the pattern set Carol on a relentless search to find a dulcimer of her own.
I'd look through shop windows and I looked at flea markets and I looked in music stores. There aren't a lot of dulcimers around to be found unless you know just exactly where to go, and I didn't always know where to go, so a lot of times my searches were fruitless. I didn't see anything.
But Carol remained determined and extended her search to the internet.
And I clicked on musical instruments, and the very first instrument listed was an Appalachian lapped dulcimer. They described it as obviously a homemade piece made out of scrap wood, that obviously the owner had put their heart and soul and faith into making it, and that its slight imperfections added to its charm, and that just really swept me off my feet. It was I was already in love with the dulcimer just from the description, and I looked on down there and the price was only $47.95, and I thought, I can have this, I can order this.
And 3 days later, the package arrived.
I pulled the dulcimer out, and when I got it turned around to where I could see it, I just screamed.
Oh my God in heaven!
This is the first dulcimer my own daddy made back in 1970.
It was more than she had ever hoped for.
That one piece that at one time had been so imperfect and so ugly to me just glowed as the most beautiful piece of woodwork I'd ever seen in my life. And I could see the love and the care that my father had put into making it that I didn't see back when I was 18 years old.
Doesn't look right.
It had been 31 years since Carol refused her father's gift and wounded his pride. And her long search to find a dulcimer to replace it had come up empty-handed until perhaps another hand led the way.
I really feel like my dad was guiding me. It was on that website for 16 months. Nobody wanted it. And here was this most precious piece of craftsmanship that I could ever hold in my hands, was out there, and it didn't mean anything to anybody. But I feel like my dad's spirit guided me to find that and to bring that instrument home. And by bringing it home, I feel like I've been forgiven and that all is well between my dad and me now.